So we're listening to the First Contact project, and the first few people are all over 30, I believe. Some in their 40s, and their memories are much more about physical things regarding the changes in early computing. And these next few interviews here in part 3 are all people who are under 30, and so they grew up with computers in the home and in their schools. And so I want to make this distinction, an introduction to part 3 here, because I think you'll notice something different here, and that's what I was hoping to find when you compare such things. So this is the First Contact project, part 3.
I remember I was being in my 6th grade classroom, and they had 2 lines of computers running alongside the walls, and the first program I ever played on was the Oregon Trail one, and I remember that the M was used for firing the rifle, and the N was used for doing something else. And you use the arrows to move the little person. And you can get like dysentery. That's the first time I actually knew what dysentery meant, because during the Oregon Trail you can get dysentery and die, or one of your cows could get it, no? So you're like, why did it die? And I was, I think 12, 13? I mean, I'm 24 now, so you do the math. I think it was like 93. And I remember it was the blinking green line that was always going on the upper left-hand corner. It was always going on, bling, bling, bling. And then the first time I typed, that they had this program in which we would have computer classes, and the computer class was only to type the words per minute, how many words per minute you could type, how fast you could type, and it was to achieve like 60 words per minute or something like that. And I would always be like 20 words per minute, and that was like me cheating now using my index finger. So yeah, that's how I learned how to type. There were Macs. Apple? Is that the same thing? Apple. Yeah, they had the little Apple emblems, I remember. And they were green. They were always green. It's like black screen with green letters. And the keyboards were really hard. They're not like the soft types that they have now, So yeah, and the hard disks were the things that you pushed in. It was just like it was more like, well, the floppy disks were a little bit bigger, and they were harder. And I remember the computers being like eggshell white. They were never like gray or these like, corporate neutral colors, pleasant for the eye. It was kind of like this weird, dirty, white looking thing. Yeah.
This Oregon Trail?
My teacher was the one that let us play it, and when we would behave, he would let us play it. And it's Oregon Trail is all about, you're in this wagon, you have to buy ammunition, you have to buy food supplies, you have to buy water, and then you have to make the Oregon Trail, like all of it, get alive there. And you go, and you either have children while you're going through it, or your children die, your spouse dies, one of your children, Susie dies, you're like, you forgot you had a child, and then you go on these hunting trips, and you hunt for buffalo, so you kill buffalo, rabbits, foxes, or birds. So when you're running out of food, if you hunt, you can bring X amount of pounds of food with you to help you survive. I'm not sure. I don't know if it still exists. Sometimes you could get shot. Someone could get shot by an Indian, but you couldn't shoot him. Like they would tell you, I think, like your daughter Susie got shot by arrow and bow killed your daughter Susie. Ana Teresa Fernandez. And I'm 24.
The first time I remember using a computer was in 6th grade of middle school. That was Buena Vista Middle School in San Francisco, California. And it was actually in the computer lab. They were Apple IIe's, and I was playing Oregon Trail, which was the best video game at the time. It was awesome. I don't think I ever beat it though.
Mexico?
I died many times.
USA?
that was I was sitting there playing. There was a computer teacher who explained like like how to get to the video game program, the Oregon Trail program. I mean, keep in mind this was educational. This wasn't just playing video games. This was learning about the pioneers and how America was formed. There's some six. God, that's really a hard thing. Okay, maybe 90. Around I think I was like 11 or 12. I was born in 1982.
So around 93?
In 94, yeah. That was when it was. Or pioneers or whatever, and you were doing the Oregon Trail across the country, and it was all about like how you had to like trade for items, and people died of disease, and or you got attacked by Indians, I think, at a couple points, and there was like different like various things where you had to like ford across rivers, and like it was ridiculous. I think it still actually exists. I mean, I remember when my little sister showed me like a super teched out version of the game, like where it was all like really like modern and fancy, but it was I think she had to do it for school, or maybe she had it on the computer that she had. He's 6 years younger than me, so
99.
it's like, wow, I can't believe that's still a video game. And that was like the first. I mean, like we didn't use computers on a regular basis. Like we still we wrote on paper and everything, but then like we had a computer class and we played Oregon Trail. That was it. Antonio Romanov Gala, age 22.
I know that my aunt had a computer before I had one in my house, and I'm sure that I'd used it or interacted with it in some way, but the first time I really remember interacting with a computer it was an Apple II, but the monitor was a television screen, and you could put in floppy disk program like game, and so I played Oregon Trail and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego over and over and over again. It was at my house. It was like little computer set up in my room, and
Can you remember about how old you were?
I was probably 5, 6.
And roughly what year that would be?
That would be like the late 80s, like 87 to 88, I think. The first computer I had, I was, like 5 or 6, and it was in my room. I just remember I would always play these games, and I played Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego because there was also a television game show of the same thing, and I would watch the game show. But the thing with the game was that after a while, I learned all of the answers. There would be these sort of clues that were like, Carmen is in the capital of Argentina. Where is she? And then there'd be like A, B, C, D, and you'd have to like guess where she was, or you would go to that place, and if she was there, it would be like she's there, and you would get like another clue, or it would be wrong, and you'd have to like retrace your steps. And eventually, I just learned all the prompts and all the answers. It was just really comforting to kind of sit there and go through these like really basic familiar things. It's sort of just like watching reruns, Yeah, it was my computer. I think it was a hand-me-down from someone, which is why I had the television as the monitor.
You remember it being an Apple II?
It was either an Apple II or it was an Apple II Plus. It was the kind that was flat, and the keyboard was sort of a trapezoid, and the keyboard was attached to the computer, and then the monitor sat on top of it. And it was just black and green, really low pixel quality.
Did you get a Mac in your house then?
We've always had Macs. I think we got our first Macintosh when I was 13, so that would be 95.
And this is 2005.
And then now I just have the iBook laptops.
Or perhaps 6.
Kind of try to get the memory of that moment.
The very first time I used a computer, I really don't remember. It seems to me like they were kind of always there in some capacity, just which might have come from growing up in Silicon Valley. It was always this thing that was happening. You know, I can remember having email at a really young age. I can remember when the internet began, and so I think that to remember a time before there was computers, and then to have a memory of this point at which, you know, like, you know, I didn't have it and then I did have it, that was never an issue. It was always around. It was just sort of a matter of this technology filtering down to be accessible to someone as young as I was. You know, it was sort of an adult thing, and then it was, you know, other people had it and then I had it. It was never not there.
So shall we say 1987, age 5, Silicon Valley, California, roughly?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
the first time that I mean, I was again introduced to it by like my same family and aunts, uncles, and cousins that they've always been sort of had their finger on the pulse of technology, and so my cousin one time was sort of explaining to me how to like use chat rooms and what you can use them for and what you can do and how it's like
Chat
you
rooms.
know, a good way to sort of like waste time. It's like another form of entertainment basically. And
how old were you then? Can you remember?
Maybe like a 12? I think 12, 11 or 12. It was just sort of, the computer was in the office and the office was just sort of a place we would play because it also had the video game system. And so once like the internet came around, the internet very much eclipsed any sort of video games that we would play. And so we would just sort of hang out in this office and like play around on the internet and then, you know, like send our family emails and like tweet or like send emails to each other. And I had an email account, but I didn't have a computer that was internet accessible at the time. I didn't get a computer that was internet accessible until I was 13.
And that's like 95?
Yeah, yeah. But it was a really exciting thing. It was sort of like a trick because you could do something and then there was absolutely no evidence that you had done it, like in the room. You know, it was sort of that was the appeal as an 11, 12-year-old to kind of have these little, like, you could do these little secret things, or, you know, you could talk to somebody and pretend that you were somebody different. It was very much a game, and it was really fun. It was definitely something that I enjoyed.
So that's interesting. This is kind of raw footage from 2006, but to wrap this up, I'm going to record part 4 separately, and that's Takako Smith, so that'll be coming up in just a moment.